Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the importance of having a makeup artist for a photo shoot. So I'm Daniel Norton, if you guys don't know. On this channel we talk about kind of my philosophy and my experience as a photographer throughout the years and kind of give you guys some tips. If you're looking for that kind of stuff, please subscribe. And I got a DM actually from someone a little while back, and they very specifically were asking about, is the makeup artist kind of the next level, or the missing link or something to that effect. Of course, I screenshotted the DM and then deleted it, so I don't remember the person's name. If you are that person, please comment below. Or if you're a makeup artist, comment below. Anyways, so yes and no, right, is my answer to that question. Essentially, the issue that the person was having, it seems, is that they said that their subjects were always very shiny. And that's why they were asking if a makeup artist would be the thing to take them forward. And yeah, you could powder somebody if they're shiny, but being a photographer, or a portrait photographer or whatever kind of photographer you are, you should try to achieve as much as you can using your light. And if you have a problem with an image, it's almost always fixable with lighting. Now, there are times that you can't change the lighting, and you might want to involve something else. But let's take, for instance, this problem, this problem of the shininess, right? So shininess, aka specular highlights, right, is essentially a reflection of your light source, right? So if you are thinking about how light reflects, right, the angle of incident equals the angle of reflection, and you also think about size of your light source and also the diffusion of your light source, you can minimize the amount of shine something will have generally by using a larger light source or a more diffuse light source, or slightly adjusting the angle of either the light or the subject to the light. So in other words, think about it in a more obvious thing, glasses. I get this question all the time, and frankly I feel silly just saying it because it's really the answer is like, you just move the glasses around until you don't see a reflection because it has to do with the angle of the light. The same thing is true of skin. If something is reflecting light, you can adjust the way that reflection looks by simply having them move or moving the light source, assuming that that's part of something that you can do, right? If you can't move them or the light source for whatever reason, the next option is to make the light source larger. Making the light source larger will make the reflection spread out, right? And essentially, there's only so much light, right? So basically what it'll end up doing is it'll spread out, and then you won't get as much of a hotspot. It'll become a more diffused highlight, right? Your diffuse highlight, it eventually becomes a neutral, right? The neutral is basically the perfect diffuse highlight. So your highlight diffused down will become your neutral. So that's basically, in photography terms, that's what's going on, right? Now, okay, right? But it's never just that, right? It's like, okay, well, but I want a certain lighting pattern. I want a certain way for something to look, and I can't do those things. In that case, then yeah, it may come down to using some kind of makeup, whether it be powder. Now, I didn't specifically ask this person what their subject was, but I can say that when I used to do a lot more magazine/corporate stuff, I used to carry these, I'll see if I can find them on Amazon, I'll put a link in the description. These like they were like rice paper with like a little bit of neutral powder on them, and you just peel them off and you just pop, 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 pop. I would use this all the time on on men. Usually, if you're photographing a woman, in a corporate type environment, a lot of them are generally wearing some kind of makeup. This isn't always the case, but a lot of times they are. So they may already have their own powder or whatever, and you can just ask them, "Can you powder down?" Or take even a paper towel and blot, right? Because if they're shining from sweat or perspiration, that will help. Sometimes, though, in the case of people who are wearing makeup, sometimes the makeup itself has a shine to it, and that's something that you need to take into consideration. Because if somebody's wearing makeup that has a shine in it, this is especially true of blushes and stuff. You may want to accentuate that, right? They're wearing that for a reason, right? And I mean, assuming you're making a portrait and you want them to capture them the way they look, right? So if the problem is that you're having blown out highlights or that you're having those type of things, I don't think a makeup artist is the solution. I do think working with makeup artists is super good and kind of important depending on the type of work you do. It sometimes makes people feel more confident. But I will say this, I've done a lot of like headshots in my day. And unless you have a makeup artist that's really good at that kind of stuff, I would be a little hesitant to bring them in to a client. Ultimately, you want somebody in your photos. Most people in most photos, unless you're talking about some kind of artistic thing or a fashion thing, you usually want people to do the makeup in a way that the subject could actually do it themselves. That way they feel like themselves, right? So the only reason why the makeup artist is really there, it's not because the person couldn't do their makeup, it's because it's a special thing, right? They're getting the portrait done, so they'll feel special having a makeup artist in there. It's also another set of eyes for you, right? Any extra eyes you have on the set are super valuable, and if you get a good working relationship with makeup artists, they're great to give you, especially ones that have good set etiquette. They're great to just be next to you on the set, like helping you basically create the better shot, right? Teamwork is super important. They can give advice. I don't want to say advice, but maybe advice. They give advice. They can give a little bit of input as long as they know when to, not when to stop, because you need to be working with the client. So yeah, I think makeup artists are super important. But I also think that like so many things can be solved just knowing certain things. Okay, so for instance, so the shininess is what they asked for specifically. The other problem that I think we encounter a lot that people think a makeup artist can help with, and probably can, would be like dark circles under the eyes. So dark circles under the eyes are caused, again, because of reflection, how you're looking through the skin, right? All you have to do in most cases to get rid of that is keep the light parallel to the person's face. So have them look into the light. The light will wash out that part of the skin and it won't reflect back this, like basically being able to see through the skin, which is what you're doing in dark circles, right? You can 99% remove dark circles just by doing that. Again, like the shine, you're going to restrict how they have to move their head around and stuff, but it can be done with photography. It's just a matter of getting the light in the right spot, in the right kind of light, right? You literally can just remove those things. It's super easy when it comes down to it. So a lot of these things, if somebody has pimples, now if they have pimples, a makeup artist can help cover the color of the pimple, but not the three-dimensionality of it. So you still have to think about it with lighting, right? What is going to make a pimple show up is the shadow of it, right? What is the shadow of the pimple caused by? Shadows are caused by hard light. So you need to make sure you have a softer light source and make sure the light source is flat on the person so that you're not seeing the shape of the pimple. And that will basically get rid of it, except for the color of it. And the color of it you would do with makeup. So again, it's in concert. A makeup artist is not a magic wand that's going to come in and fix the problems. If they put a ton of stuff under their eyes to cover dark circles and you still light it badly, you're just going to see that caked up makeup under their eyes. You're not going to see clean photography. What you need to do is work with them, and make the lighting work with your subject so that those things show up a lot less. Then a makeup artist kind of helping out a bit will be important. And I do think it's nice to work with makeup artists and also fashion stylists too. We'll talk about that another time. But having just somebody there, especially when I do like corporate shoots, if I'm doing like a bunch of, let's say, lawyers or a bunch of corporate, people that go to an office, I'm there all day, it's awesome to have a makeup artist. Even if all they do is go up there, blot a little bit of sweat and straighten somebody's tie, or adjust their dress or, whatever, or help the women, maybe you should use this color lipstick or whatever, because that's just another person there helping you. And anybody who's there that's helping you, that's a creative, that's going to be on your side and part of your team is going to be good for you. So yeah, I think they're super important. The makeup artist should be part of the team when possible, but don't think that if you're having certain problems that the makeup artist is necessarily a magic wand. You've got to think about how to solve the problem photographically first. And again, highlights are reflections of the source. Shadows are basically the other side of the source, right? So those two things you can eliminate or remove or control based on where you position your light to your subject. Things like dark circles and blotchiness can be taken care of again with flat, even light with the person facing into it, right? It's going to smooth it out. Smooth it out means you won't see it. Not seeing it is kind of what you want, right? That's going to do it with the camera as you're shooting. Okay? That being said, I'm a little side note here. I don't know who you're photographing and what the situation is, so this may not be true, but oftentimes I'm photographing actors/models. That's what I photograph a lot of. Or I'm doing personal projects where I just find somebody. And honestly, if somebody generally has dark circles under their eyes, I am fine with leaving them like that. That's how they look, And that's part of what makes them look like them. And if you start removing that stuff, they stop looking like them. And to me, that removes a lot of what the reason why I would photograph them. So I never remove, unless I'm asked, scars. I don't usually do anything with dark scars. I will minimize it, of course. I'm not going to exemplify it unless I'm trying to do that for a character portrait or something. But I'll make sure I light them in the best way. But if there's a little bit left, I generally leave it. I mean, I think it's just there, Shine though, you should, unless you're shooting something that you should be shiny, like specifically if you're shooting a makeup that has a certain shine to it, that you want to actually make shiny, but control it so that you don't blow out your highlights. You don't want to blow out, you just want to have them look good. So yeah, is a makeup artist a good person to have on the team? Sure. Will it solve the problems that you're having photographically if those are your problems? Not 100%, and probably in some cases not at all, right? Because some people are just shiny no matter what you do. You keep putting powder on them, next thing you know, they've got a kicked up head and they're still going to be shiny because your light's hitting them a certain way. So make sure that you're using photography first, and then makeup artists and other things second to control things like highlights, shadows, detail, all that stuff. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you guys work with makeup artists and what you think about this, or if you have very specific examples of things that you maybe didn't explain very well. Maybe I can do like an actual tutorial, I'll show it. So put that down there if you want to see that. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell, and I'll see you next time.